$60,000 buys you a used camper van right now. It also buys you a 6-month-old repair bill, a water intrusion problem that someone painted over, and a service history that conveniently starts 3 owners ago. The van is the same in both scenarios. The difference is what you knew before you bought it. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 used camper vans that a well-informed buyer can realistically find under $60,000 in 2026, not in theory, based on what the market actually shows right now. I'm going to tell you exactly what to inspect on each one, where each one has a documented problem history, and why one specific type of used camper van that looks like a deal at this price point is almost always a financial mistake. One of these 3 vans is the one I'd put my own money into for the buyer I'm going to describe. I'll tell you which one at the end, but stay through the chassis section first, because that's where I'm going to save you from the most common expensive mistake buyers make before they even look at a model name. The honest state of the $60,000 used market. Let's start with what $60,000 actually means in the used camper van market in 2026. Here's the reality, because what you'll read on forum posts from 2 or 3 years ago no longer reflects what's on lots right now. The pandemic-era used van price bubble has largely corrected, but the correction didn't bring everything down evenly. Clean, recent Travatos, 2020, 2021, 2022, are sitting in the low to mid-70s and above. Recent Coachmen Beyonds are similar. The $60,000 budget has been pushed back a model year cycle by the correction. What that means practically, under $60,000 in 2026 gets you a 2015 to 2018 model year van from the major brands, or a 2019 to 2021 van from a smaller manufacturer with less resale retention. Both can be excellent decisions, but neither is a 2-year-old van with current systems. You need to understand that before you start shopping, because buyers who don't understand it set expectations that the market can't meet and then get rushed into bad decisions trying to close that gap. The $60,000 buyer in 2026 is not getting a recent camper van. They are getting an older one with more miles. Done intelligently, that is still a very strong purchase. Done carelessly, it is an expensive problem with sleeping quarters. The question is what you know before you show up. Chassis first, the decision that overrides everything. Before I name a model, you need to understand one thing. At this price point, in this market, the chassis is a more important variable than the brand on the decal. That is not a small claim. I mean it exactly. 2 chassis platforms you'll encounter repeatedly in the under $60,000 used market are the Ram ProMaster and the Ford Transit. The Ram ProMaster is front-wheel drive, powered by a 3.6-liter gas V6 in the campervan configurations most relevant here. Parts are widely available, the dealer network is broad, and independent mechanics with ProMaster experience are common enough that you are rarely far from someone who can work on it. That accessibility matters in ways that new buyers consistently underestimate until something breaks away from home. What buyers also need to know going in, the ProMaster has documented issues and you should verify the recall history on any unit you're considering. The 2019 through 2021 model year ProMasters were subject to an NHTSA recall affecting over 165,000 vehicles for a park pall problem. Debris in the 62 TE transmission could prevent the park gear from fully engaging, creating a rollaway risk. The remedy is a software update to the powertrain control module. Before you buy any 2019 to 2021 ProMaster-based van, confirm that recall was completed. It takes 30 seconds to check at nhtsa.gov with the VIN. The Ford Transit is rear-wheel drive in standard configurations, with a similarly broad service network. If something goes wrong outside a major city, the probability that a local mechanic can work on a Transit is high. That serviceability is a practical asset on the road in a way that doesn't show up on a spec sheet. You will also see Sprinter-based vans in the used market, and I'm going to address those in a dedicated section, because the vans that hit the $60,000 price point at Sprinter ages and mileages carry risks that the number doesn't communicate. With the chassis framework established, here's the first surprise. The van I ranked 3rd is actually newer than my first pick. Stay with that because the reason explains everything about how to think at this budget. Van number 3. Thor Motor Coach Sequence 20L. The Thor Sequence is probably the least discussed legitimate campervan option in the sub-$60,000 budget, and it deserves more attention than it gets. The Sequence is built on the Ram ProMaster chassis. It's a compact van, about 20 feet in length, with a wet bath, rear sofa bed that converts to a sleeping platform, and a functional galley. Used 2020 and 2021 examples are currently showing up in the market in the $40,000 to $55,000 range, which is one of the few places in the 2026 used market where you can find a relatively new van with modern electrical systems under $60,000. Why is it less popular than the Travato? Two reasons, and neither is about build quality. First, Thor's Class B brand identity is weaker than Winnebago's. Winnebago has been building ProMaster-based vans since the Travato launched in 2015. The Sequence arrived later and doesn't carry the same recognition. For buyers who care about resale, and you should care about resale from the moment you buy, the Travato holds value better in the secondary market. That price gap at purchase partly reflects that resale difference. Second, the Sequence owner community is smaller. Community size directly correlates to the amount of documented failure pattern information available to a used buyer doing due diligence. With the Travato, you can find exhaustive discussion of every known problem pattern going back to 2015. With the Sequence, the documentation is thinner. That doesn't mean more problems exist, it means fewer are publicly documented. For a used buyer, that's a real difference. What to verify on a used 2019 to 2021 Sequence specifically? Check the NHTSA recall database for the Park Paul transmission recall. If the unit falls in the 2019 to 2021 production window, confirm the PCM software update was performed by a dealer before purchase. It's a non-event if it's been done. It's a manageable safety and mechanical concern if it hasn't. Beyond the recall, the wet bath plumbing connections and freshwater seal systems are the areas to prioritize on inspection. This applies across most campervans at this age and mileage, not just the Sequence. Who is the Sequence for? The buyer who wants a ProMaster-based van with modern systems and cannot find a clean Travato at the right price. It's a legitimate third pick in this category, not a consolation prize. Go in knowing the resale story, verify the recall status, and inspect it the same way you would any van at this mileage. The Coachmen Beyond 22C. The Coachmen Beyond has been built on the Ford Transit 350 since it launched. That has not changed across its production run. Ford Transit, rear-wheel drive, gas engine. That serviceability profile is exactly what you want in a used campervan at this budget. Here is the honest pricing reality for the Beyond in 2026. 2021 and 2022 examples are sitting at $70,000 and above for clean units. That puts them outside the $60,000 ceiling unless you're negotiating a private sale or accepting higher mileage. Where the Beyond enters this budget realistically is the 2019 and earlier model years, which are beginning to appear in the $55,000 to $63,000 range as depreciation continues. The reason the Beyond earns its place in this lineup despite that price tension is space. The Coachmen Beyond is a longer, more livable van than either the Travato or the Sequence. For a couple doing extended trips, or someone who wants genuine full-time living capability, the Beyond's interior is a meaningfully different experience. That space advantage shows up in daily use in the kitchen, in storage, in the bed dimensions. What to inspect on an older Beyond? The Dometic refrigeration systems on earlier units have a documented complaint pattern around absorption cooling performance in hot climates. A fridge that cools adequately on a 60-degree day in a parking lot will not necessarily hold temperature in a 100-degree desert afternoon. Test it under heat, not just at delivery. Beyond that, fit and finish variability on earlier Beyonds, cabinet alignment, dinette hardware, seal integrity, falls in the annoying rather than expensive category, but adds up on a van at this price. A competent inspector will catch most of it. Who is the Beyond for? Couples who prioritize living space, full-timers who accept that the $60,000 ceiling in 2026 means buying into an earlier model year, buyers who want the Ford Transit ecosystem and want the most interior volume available at this price. If you find a clean 2019 Beyond under $60,000 with a documented service history, that is a genuine opportunity. The Trap, the cheap Sprinter. Now, the van that looks like the best deal in this budget and is frequently the worst one. At the $60,000 level, you will occasionally see a used Airstream Interstate, a Thor Delano, or another Sprinter-based premium van that originally sold for $120,000 or more. It says $58,000. Your brain tells you, I'm getting a $120,000 van for half price. The depreciation has already happened. I'm the smart buyer. Here's what you're not calculating. A Sprinter diesel at the age and mileage it needs to be to hit $58,000 is not the vehicle it was at 75,000 miles. The diesel emission systems, the AdBlue injection, the diesel particulate filter, the EGR valve are age and mileage sensitive. When they develop problems, the work requires a Mercedes-certified diesel specialist, not a general mechanic or a Ram dealer. Here is a real number from a real owner. An Airstream Interstate 24 GT owner in South Florida compared two quotes for a routine Service A, oil change, brake inspection, belt check, on their 2021 Interstate. The Mercedes-Benz dealership quoted $1,500. An independent European shop in the same county quoted $150 for the same service. That's a 10-to-1 cost ratio for routine maintenance, depending on where you go and what's available near you. Outside major metros, the independent option may not exist. The dealer option is all you have. Owners who sell Sprinter-based vans at this price know exactly what's approaching. That's frequently why it's at $58,000. This is not an argument against every used Sprinter. A one-owner, fully documented Sprinter with a clean maintenance record and a confirmed diesel particulate filter health check from a qualified specialist can be a legitimate purchase. But that's specialist inspection, not a general RV inspection. A Mercedes-certified diesel technician is non-negotiable before you close. If the seller resists it, that resistance is information. Used van number 1 is the Winnebago Travato 59G, 2015 to 2018 model year. For the buyer I described, prioritizing serviceability, documented ownership history, resale position, and manageable risk, the Winnebago Travato 59G is my pick in this market and at this budget. Let me be specific about what $60,000 actually gets you in the Travato line in 2026. You are buying a 2015 to 2018 model year. The 59G floor plan, no wet bath, galley kitchen, flex sleeping area, is the one most commonly found in this range, with clean examples currently appearing between $50,000 and $63,000 depending on mileage and condition. The 59K, which adds the wet bath, tends to run slightly higher even in older model years. If your ceiling is a hard $60,000, the 59G is where to focus. Now the failure patterns you need to know before you buy, because a Vonovia video doesn't pretend problems don't exist. The Truma Combi unit, the combined furnace and water heater on these vans, has a well-documented owner complaint history. Not catastrophic failure, but a consistent pattern of finicky behavior, particularly after storage and dewinterization. Error codes, heat modes that require resets to activate, no hot water situations that take multiple attempts to resolve. Many owners work around it. Some have had the unit serviced or replaced. Reported costs from the community range from around $1,500 to over $2,000 depending on the failure mode and who does the work. Going into a used Travato purchase, test the Truma cold and under hot water demand before you commit. Budget for the possibility of a repair. It's not a deal breaker, it's a known variable that should be priced in. The second documented issue on the 2015 to 2018 Travato generation is the roof edge. Winnebago's Travato uses a fiberglass roof, their Phylon flex roof construction, where the roof edges channel into the sidewall and are held by sealant. If that sealant dries, cracks, or debonds from the channel, which happens on vans stored outdoors without maintenance, air can get under the roof edge. Water follows. The inspection technique is physical, not visual. Press on the roof edge where it meets the sidewall channel. If it flexes, lifts, or shows a gap rather than holding firm, that section has likely debonded. An inspector who knows Winnebago construction will go straight to this check. Ask them to specifically document the roof edge condition, not just the surface. On the ProMaster transmission recall point, the 2019 to 2021 Travato production window overlaps with the NHTSA transmission recall on ProMasters. If you find a 2019 or 2020 Travato under $60,000, they do exist. Run the VIN at nhtsa.gov and confirm the recall was completed. Why the Travato over the other two? 3 things. The Winnebago Travato owner community is one of the largest and most documented in the Class B space. Failure patterns are cataloged, discussed, and time-stamped going back years. That is genuine buyer intelligence before purchase. Second, the Travato's resale position is stronger than the Thor Sequence or an equivalent year beyond. That matters on your exit. And third, the Ford and Ram dealer ecosystems that service these vans are wide enough that you're rarely stranded for long when something needs attention. The correct purchase at this budget, a 2016 or 2017 Travato 59G, inspected with a clean ProMaster service history, a Truma that passes both a heat test and a hot water test at delivery, and a roof edge that holds firm on physical inspection. You will pay in the $55,000 to $60,000 range for that van in today's market. It will not be glamorous, it will be defensible. The inspection rule. This applies to all 3 vans without exception. Before you close on any used camper van, you hire an independent inspector, NRVIA certified, with documented Class B experience and no affiliation with the seller or dealership. These inspectors typically run $300 to $500. What they catch that you will miss: water intrusion at every seal point, roof edge condition, fresh water and LP system integrity, electrical load testing, appliance function under actual operating conditions. The RVIA has documented that water intrusion from failed seals is the leading cause of structural damage in RVs more than 5 years old. A seller who won't allow an independent inspection has told you something important about why. $300 to $500 on a $58,000 purchase. Do not skip it. The money math. Here is the actual argument. Option A, you buy a 2016 Travato for $57,000. You spend $450 on an independent inspection. The inspector finds a roof edge that is debonded and a Truma that's borderline on hot water function. You negotiate $2,500 off the price. You fix the roof edge for $400, you monitor the Truma, and it functions. Your all-in cost is approximately $55,000. Option B, you pass on the Travato and buy a $58,000 Sprinter-based luxury van because it looks pristine and the seller seems trustworthy. You skip the inspection because you're confident in the condition. 12 months later, the diesel particulate filter throws a fault code. The nearest qualified specialist is a Mercedes dealer. The repair is $6,800. Your all-in cost is now $64,800 and climbing. The difference between those two outcomes is not luck, it is process. Who should buy used under $60,000? Buyers who have researched the specific model year they're looking at, know what $60,000 means in this market right now, budget $400 to $500 for an independent inspection, and hold a repair reserve of at least $5,000 for what the inspection misses. That is the profile of a buyer who will be glad they did this. Who should wait? Buyers who need the van to be perfect from day one with no tolerance for a repair in the first year. That buyer should either extend their budget or keep saving. A used camper van at this price, bought intelligently, is one of the strongest value decisions in this category. Bought without process, it is an expensive problem with a bed in it. For the buyer I described, my pick is the 2016 or 2017 Winnebago Travato 59G, inspected with a clean chassis history and a functioning Truma. Not the most exciting answer, the most correct one. One question for the comments. If you've already bought a used camper van, what did the seller not disclose that you found after closing? That information helps every buyer watching this channel. Drop it below. I read all of them.